everyone, this is David Stark from WatcherPass.com, your website for movie reviews, interviews, and recommendations. Today I'm very excited to talk to Scott Beck and Bryan Woods, the writers and directors of Haunt. It's a new horror film that's coming out right in time for Halloween. It was already out in theaters, but the disc and collector's edition are coming out October 22nd. You might know them from another small film that they did, The Quiet Place. They wrote that film while they were writing Haunt. Haunt is a really great, creepy haunted house film that has some fantastic villains in very creepy masks. So in preparation, I found my own creepy mask. We're going to talk to them in just a second, but first, let's check out that trailer. And if you've got the time while you're watching it, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps us out a lot. Thank you.
This cannot be ignored.
Yes, we're doing it.
It's the end. Say goodbye.
Is this supposed to be scary?
Breathe deeply. Close your eyes. Keep the monsters from breathing. Keep the monsters from breathing.
Do you want to see my face?
Hey, David. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing fine. This is Scott, and got Bryan here. Hey, this is Bryan. How's it going?
Perfect. It's going well. Thanks so much for joining me. I know that you're crazy busy right now, so thanks for carving out some time to help promote Haunt. It's the Blu-ray and collector's edition are coming out October 22nd, just in time for Halloween. So I think, the first thing I want to say is thank you for making me not worry at all that Halloween is canceled. Like I finally feel fine with just staying indoors, not going outside, not going anywhere. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. We feel the exact same. It's been such a weird year, and especially for this season, that part of the joy of Halloween is just being able to get out and enjoy haunts and haunted houses, and that's exactly what Bryan and I always look forward to year after year. And so it's kind of a bummer, but happy that we have this consolation prize, I guess, for everybody else.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I really loved about this film is it kind of took something conventional, right? Like a haunted house is a fairly normal thing depending on where you live, and even these costumes were kind of conventional costumes, and just made everything so creepy by just kind of doing everything right. Like the characters, they just look like normal dressed up people, but just the way they move, their mannerisms, it just kind of made everything have a dread to it. So was that kind of what the idea behind this? What was the kind of inspiration for this film?
Yeah, absolutely. We really wanted to find that balance between the normalcy of haunts that we went to when we were kids growing up in Iowa. We'd go to these various kind of thrown together haunted houses that were out in the middle of nowhere. And there was something eerie about how simple and normal they were. And we wanted to toy with that throughout the film. So a scene that's a perfect example of that is when the ghost is encountering Nathan, and he's in this ghost outfit, and he's got his ghost mask, and there's something simple about it, and we're not really sure, can we trust this guy? Is he just, a haunt actor? Is there something else going on? And Nathan looks down at his feet, and we see that he's wearing Velcro shoes, the most normal thing possible. And the ghost hides it behind his little ghost robe. And that's a scene that kind of encapsulates this feeling of wanting to bounce back and forth between, is this terrifying? Is this innocent? Are these guys murderers? Are they just random people that, you grew up with down the street? Who are they? And kind of playing with that was a lot of fun for us.
And they could be both. They could be murderers that you grew up with down the street. You just don't know on Halloween.
Yeah,
exactly.
So yeah, I mean, there were so many little touches like that where you're and you could see that in one of the first, brutal scenes where the friends were watching it, and then they started applauding. You as the viewer kind of think that something terrible is going on, so you're a little stunned, and the friends just start applauding, like, "Oh man, that was such a great presentation, like bravo. It's such a nice kind of balance there of creepy but also conventional on Halloween.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that. Yeah, it's something that, like, I think even though the intent, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that that haunt feels like a roller coaster ride that's just delivering like kind of the Halloween scares. Certainly in writing the film, we look at just things that disturb us personally, whether you're surfing through Instagram and you see something like horrific that you don't know, is it just real or is it special effects? And there's that element of just the unknown, kind of that middle gray area where you don't know how to actually react to this. And as a human being, you have so many different emotions that kind of surface. And so that certainly was a lot of the interplay that we were trying to toy with throughout the whole course of the movie. Like that first scene that you're talking about, really letting the characters think that, oh, haha, this is just fun and games. But then it gets deeper and more disturbing, and you start discovering how you as a person react to kind of the horrors of what life can be when all of a sudden the veil of reality is kind of like pulled down in front of your own eyes.
Yeah, definitely. And I imagine you both probably have that problem more than most, given the horror circles that you're in. I'm sure your Instagram feed is full of amazing and terrible things.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So I saw in another interview that you did, you mentioned the budget for this film. So I guess, I don't know what the budget was, but was that kind of a constraint of this movie? And was it tough to work within a budget to produce such a, I mean, you couldn't tell that there was any budgetary issues. So I was a little surprised when you mentioned that. I thought that the film just had everything kind of done right. So if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, the idea was that it would always be kind of a more like what you would consider like an independent film budget, just because if nothing else, the movie was a throwback to the slasher films of the 70s and then 80s, and even to a certain extent the 90s, although those became a little bit more indulgent and bigger budget. But we always wanted something stripped back and raw, and the budget being a limitation became a really great creative opportunity. It's just all about trying to figure out what you can do with limited resources, how you can keep the story contained, and by keeping it contained, it becomes, in our opinion, more claustrophobic and more terrifying. We always talk about how in horror, a big budget can always be, in many ways, is one of the worst things that can happen in the horror genre, because then instead of scares, you start leaning into spectacle. You start leaning into what can we show off? Like, how much can we see in terms of the monster or the kills or the whatever it is that the movie's about. And spectacle can be beautiful and it can be fun to watch, but it's very rarely scary. So hitting up against the limitations of our budget, which we did all the time, it was a very challenging shoot. We think or hope that it made the movie that much more creepy.
I would also add to that too, from like just a pure construction element of what this haunt was. The construction budget for this film was probably similar to, in the story's logic, what our monsters would have had at their disposal to build this functioning haunted house. And like our production designer was this gentleman named Austin Gorg, who has worked with incredible filmmakers. He worked as art director on like La La Land and Neon Demon and Midnight Special, with these incredibly like rich and textured and beautiful looking movies. And his big challenge was, how do you create a haunted house that in the story logic has to be built up in a matter of probably like 1 week and then able to be burned down so there's no trace of evidence whatsoever, so that it fulfills what these monsters are trying to do. And so that was like an interesting challenge where like, oh, let's just use warehouse pallets. And literally like during the course of the film, trucks would deliver free warehouse pallets to us. And we're like, oh, that actually works for the logic of what these monsters would be doing and sending out, their vampire crony to go to, Halloween surplus stores and just bring out these cheap designs. And then they architect this entire haunted house around what the resources are. So in a way, like the budgetary restrictions that we had in making the movie kind of mimicked what the actual story logic would be for these guys.
Yeah, that's kind of perfect. I did want to ask about the haunted house. I wasn't sure if didn't think it would be sets given, you mentioned budget earlier. So, did you find like an abandoned house to build up in, or was it one kind of contiguous area, or did you kind of smartly cut to the various rooms and whatnot?
We basically took over an abandoned dairy factory outside of Cincinnati, Ohio, on the Kentucky side of the river, and the dairy factory became like our pseudo soundstage, where we would just build these interconnecting sets, and as much as we humanly could, we wanted them to actually like move from one to the other so that there felt like there was a flow. But it was incredibly fun to make this movie, because we were able to film over the course of Halloween, and so everybody had that fun spirit. It was like just being in the season and getting the pleasure of making a scary movie in October while you're walking around all these different haunted house sets. So it was a very surreal but incredible experience.
Yeah, that's kind of perfect. It puts everyone in the mood. You don't have to even get anyone kind of, ready to go, because everyone's kind of in that spirit already.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's really poetic. So the movie was filmed in Halloween some point in the past. It was released around Halloween last year, and now it's coming to a disc and collector's edition this year. So I think I detect a theme with this film.
Yeah, I mean, we're just, as huge fans of the genre in general, there's just something so special. Like, as soon as it gets to be, for us, like September 1st, honestly, like that's where we start, jotting down like, oh, this is our horror film marathon for the next 2 months. And so we try to view this film, just as fans of the genre. And when the time came to put together the supplemental features for this Blu-ray release, that was kind of the mandate. We have to release this around Halloween, especially this year, as you mentioned when we got on the phone, to kick things off. It's just such an odd time in the world that we hope, the special features here at least lend something to everybody's Halloween season if they're stuck inside.
Yeah, the special features are fantastic. I've seen a few of them. I'm waiting to see the deleted scenes until I get the disc itself, because I want to have that full experience. But the interviews are great. The commentary is great. So it is really a treat if you're interested in kind of reliving the haunted house experience, vicariously. I did want to ask. Oh yeah, no, it was I kind of saw I hadn't seen the film in theaters, so I saw the like box art, and I was like, okay, this must be like a slasher film, maybe it'll have some jump scares. And then just when you're watching it, it's so much more. It's so much better than that. It's got kind of, it kind of toes that right line. It's got some jump scares, but it doesn't rely on them. Like, I think some of the creepiest scenes are when you expect a jump scare and nothing happens. And then also it has, plenty of gore, but not like gratuitous amounts. It's kind of just that right amount of gore to let you know that there are dire consequences, but you're not like relying on that. So
that's awesome. That's awesome to hear you say that, because we were trying to do the slasher film that we wanted to see, which is like, everyone has their own kind of personal taste. It's very subjective, and certain movies are for different people, but like, we wanted to kind of take a silly kind of premise that's normally treated silly, but treat it seriously and artfully, and then avoid the trappings of nudity or gratuitous gore for the sake of gore, or jump scares around every corner, and just let it be a little bit more still and a little bit more quiet. So it was just kind of I'm glad you responded to those elements, because that's what excited us about bringing the movie to life.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you for this. Thank you for this film. I wanted to ask about the masks. Were those custom made, or did you just find some masks and kind of dress them up to make them even creepier? Because those were, it was the masks and the actors themselves doing this just fantastic kind of just a little bit off-putting, mannerisms that made this film so good.
Oh, totally. Yeah, we thank you for saying so, and we were so lucky with the actors that we were able to have be a part of this film. The masks themselves, they were custom made through our art team led by Austin Gorg, but they certainly were following footsteps of vintage designs like the Ben Cooper masks from the 50s through the 70s. Those were inspiration points for us, where the masks needed to feel very universal. They needed to feel something almost innocent to a certain degree, so that the big reveal of the film is when the masks come off, that what you find underneath is even more terrifying. And the mask designs, we just felt like it was a great way to play with kind of our own type of like Universal monster movie motif, where you have, you know, in Universal Monsters, you have the Wolfman, you have the creature from the Black Lagoon, and for us, we just really wanted to do the staples of like the ghost, the devil, the clown, the witch, the vampire, the zombie, so on and so forth, and just kind of live in that fun, you know, Halloween environment.
Yeah, definitely. I have a couple more quick questions, and then I wanted to get into, I call it the lightning round, which is just very kind of lightweight questions about the film. So hopefully it won't take too much time. I know you all are very busy right now. Is spider vodka real?
It is real. I don't know much about. I've never had it.
Yeah, I believe it was. We found it online. It's like something in Thailand, from what we can tell.
Okay, yeah, I remember that from
and
the
they
film.
have scorpion vodka and such. So
yeah. Okay, that's not something I'll drink. And then, you know, the film's ending is good, but then I think the thing I enjoyed the most is that end credit song. I wish you could have seen the smile that kind of cracked in my face when I realized, you know, what this, you know, this soulful remake of one of my favorite songs growing up was. So where did you find that? Where did that come from? Are there more? Can I buy an album of them?
So it was our original idea. We wanted to take a Halloween anthem. The original concept was to take a silly Halloween anthem, like something like Monster Mash, and then treat it soulfully and you know, kind of do a new take on it, and something that would play to the ending. And so we this artist that we've admired for years and years and years, this young woman named Lissy, one of our favorite singer-songwriters, and frankly, when it comes to covers, like there's nobody better. Like she's the best at what she does. We brought her on board to do Monster Mash. Well, while we were working on Monster Mash, we were kind of collecting a few other ideas, and we weren't sure, is it Monster Mash, is it something else, or are there other Halloween anthems, are there other scary songs? And then we started like sending her ideas, and we're like, are there any that you respond to out of these? And she really started latching on to Rob Zombie's Dracula. And we were like, how are you going to do that? Like, Monster Mash was a challenge in and of itself, but how are you going to do Dracula, and how are you going to do it with what we're trying to get at? And she just felt really confident. She sent us a quick demo of like kind of what she was thinking, and we were like, oh, this is so perfect. And we just loved the whole meta nature of it. Her take on Rob Zombie's iconic song. You could argue like the movie is our take on Rob Zombie's, you know, House of a Thousand Corpses,
yep.
31 or whatever. Like, not that was like intellectualized, not that that's what we were trying to do, but you could make that argument. And so we just kind of really love the meta-ness of it all. And so that's what we ended up landing on.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. I played it for my wife, and she was like, "This is really nice." Like, you want to hear the original? She's like, "Nope, not at all. I like the song." And I noticed, you know, Rob Zombie was a good choice, but you didn't want to use Iowa's favorite son, Slipknot.
I know, it feels like a missed opportunity, right?
So this has been fantastic. I want to move into the lightning round just because you know, they're really quick, kind of lightweight, you know, sometimes funny questions that you know, kind of relate to the movie. You can choose to answer or not. It's up to you. I'm not going to be sad if you don't, you know, but I try to keep them very answerable. So the first question is, can you pick locks?
No.
Nope.
Good. What are you going for as Halloween? Or where are you going?
A filmmaker. Unfortunately, this year, I think I'm going as this is a horrible answer for horror fans. I think I'm going as a Tin Man because my daughter got obsessed with Wizard of Oz over quarantine. But we're in pre-production on a film, and so we're definitely going to make everybody dress up. Hopefully I'll have a more clever answer on that later this month.
Just
Brian, what are you going?
I have no answer.
Yeah, we're going as trolls because my daughters are really into trolls. So I feel your pain and excitement.
Yep.
What is the worst haunted house you've been to?
Worst haunted house. I mean, I don't have a specific answer. I think we dislike the ones that are more commercialized, where it's just a wall of noise. You just walk in and people are constantly jumping out at you and screaming, and you're just getting harassed for, you know, 20 minutes. Like, that's less interesting to us. We like haunted houses that are really spare and simple and quiet, because that tends to be scarier for us. but I can't think of one that I can throw under the bus.
I can only think of one where they start getting under your skin. When we were in Cincinnati, there was one, and one of our production crew kept getting accosted. They kept calling him Grandpa, and I'm like, this man's, only like in his late 40s. Stop berating him.
So no, it's a costume. It's really good. It's a really good costume. What is the best haunted house you've been to?
One of my favorite haunted houses is this place in Oregon. There's this kind of family-run theme park called Enchanted Forest, and it's for children. It's for little kids, but they have a haunted house that's open year-round in this theme park, and it's very eerie. I don't think it's intentionally scary, but it's the scariest thing ever. There's no one in there with you. You just kind of walk through by yourself. It's very dark, and all the artwork is like intended to be cartoony and cute for children, but it's actually just terrifying because the designer has a weird skew on humanity. I don't know what it is. There's just something really terrifying about it. And I go there every year with my wife because it creeps me out. It was great inspiration for this movie.
And I think for mine, it was this place called Factory of Fear in our hometown in the Quad Cities in Iowa and Illinois that took an abandoned factory and they just retrofitted it with a creepy haunted house aesthetic. And in a way, that was the source inspiration for the actual haunted house in Haunt, where it was more about the suspense of walking down these corridors and not knowing when something's going to jump out at you versus like something jumping out at you every 5 to 10 seconds.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like both of those made it their way into this film. Although it sounds like that creepy kids haunted house is the perfect setting for Haunt too. So
yeah. It could be. Yeah.
What is the creepiest shot or drink you had? That spider vodka really kind of stuck with me during the film.
Creepiest shot I've ever had. I mean, tequila, with the worm, I guess, at the bottom. I guess
that's a
nothing
good one.
Creepier than anything that used to be alive within your drinks. So.
And I don't drink, so I actually don't have an answer. I was like Mountain Dew Code Red. Like I'm like I don't know. I don't drink.
That's probably just as bad for you. So, which of the masks was the creepiest for you if you had to encounter one of them?
The ghost. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say the ghost as well. There's just something about it that's a little off, and that was a challenging mask to make because Ghostface and Scream is so iconic. So we needed Austin to do something different that we didn't feel like we had seen before, and that one was just creepy. Yeah,
agreed. I think mine would be the clown, but that's just my own personal fears and not anything with
yeah. Oh, good.
What would be the worst room for you in the house? I list off maybe spiders, enclosed spaces, razors, knives, the mannequin room.
I think the actually one of the first rooms that they walk through, which is the circular device that spins with the wheels, where it just disorients you. You walk through like the bridge, and that's just, I get really dizzy easily, and I feel like once I'm just disoriented, I'm completely at a loss. So that would probably be my worst.
And I think let me think. I think the tunnels would really scare me if it was kind of labyrinthine and with dead ends and you didn't know where to go out and it's already kind of a sketchy haunted house. I think I'd have major problems with that. Agree
to that. And that corridor shot was beautiful. That was a really, really amazing shot. And I felt the disorientation that you mentioned, watching it on the television. So that's I actually love that.
We were hoping it would. Yeah, we were hoping it might make viewers, somewhat nauseous if we did our job right.
It's a good way to start. What soulful remake of a rock or metal song would you like to hear, other than Dragula, of course?
Man, I mean, we kind of got our wish through Dragula. I'm trying to think of like the other songs I used to listen like back in the day, like Power Man 5000, When Worlds Collide. I think that might be one of them.
That would be a good one.
I'll go with that. That works.
Yeah.
I was trying to listen to some metal before this. I was trying to listen to some Mudvayne to see if that would be a good one. But yeah. Pretty much any metal music I'd like to hear remade so I can listen to it now and
exactly.
Put it on at a party.
Yeah, bring something different. Yeah.
So I know you all are in scouting right now, what's next for you? This film, the disc comes out in a week on October 22nd, and I'm sure it'll be a great release for Halloween. It's kind of the perfect timing for everything. But what's next for you all, and what's your next project?
Yeah, we're working on this new project right now called 65 for Sony with Adam Driver starring in it, and we're starting very soon on production. And what else? And we're also working on an adaptation of Stephen King's The Boogeyman, which is a short story that Stephen King wrote in his Night Shift collection that we've always loved. It's kind of been it's kind of our favorite piece that he's ever done, really. Like, his short stories are so good, and there was something fun about taking something that was so tiny. It was like it's like, I can't remember how many pages, like 8 or 12 pages, not very long, and trying to expand it but play in the maestro's sandbox. So that's another thing we have coming up.
That sounds exciting, and also challenging to kind of break out of that the short story format and kind of put your own take on it. But that sounds like a great project.
Yeah, it's a challenge, but it is fun to kind of figure out what direction we can take with piggybacking off of Stephen King as the master of horror, and see what we can lend to that, if anything. But it's been a really fun challenge.
I think you'll lend a lot. This movie was amazing. Your other small film that people might have heard about that you wrote, Quiet Place, is also just fantastic, understated film. So I'm excited to see what comes next.
Yeah,
appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. I know you all are really busy, so thank you so much for carving out the time. And this is Scott Beck and Bryan Woods, the writers and directors of Haunt. The Blu-ray and collector's edition comes out on October 22nd. The collector's edition it's just an insane amount of content and extra features, including posters for all the scary masks that you can put up this Halloween. So make sure to check it out. And thank you so much for joining me.
Awesome. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
That was Scott Beck and Bryan Woods, the writers and directors of Haunt, which is coming out on disc in a Blu-ray and collector's edition on October 22nd. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps us out a lot, and it makes sure all of our new videos go straight to you. And as always, please go to watcherpass.com for all your movie reviews, interviews, and recommendations. Thank you.